wish to acknowledge the Haldimand Tract, traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabeg and Haudenosaunee peoples. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada and Haldimand treaties. We acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge of the Indigenous peoples with whom we share this land today.
Welcome, everybody. Peacebuilders Canada would like to thank you for joining us this year for Spring for Peace 2022. Yes, Spring for Peace 2022. We've been here before. Last year was exciting. This year is going to be just as exciting. Thank you to all our sponsors and donors and volunteers, and thank you to everyone who's been able to make this night happen. It's going to be an amazing night. We have great auction items, and we have some amazing wine selection for you to choose from. However, please don't outbid me, but please do support Spring for Peace. We need you to make this night a very festive night and fun night. Take care and be well.
Thank you, Marlon. And yes, welcome everyone to the annual Spring for Peace 2022 virtual gala in support of Peacebuilders Canada. I'm Dwight Drummond, host of CBC Toronto News, and I have the pleasure of being your host for this evening. You know, the pandemic has had a significant impact on our lives, and as a result, we must once again do this virtually, but we look forward to celebrating in person with each of you when it is safe to do so. As well as an incredible auction that we have on tonight, we have a fantastic program lined up for you. You will hear from our keynote speaker, David McCallum, who was wrongfully convicted as a youth and jailed for 29 years. His story of hope, courage, persistence, and the undying human spirit will most certainly inspire. You will also hear from the team at Peacebuilders who do the incredible work required to support our youth to ensure they all have opportunities for a brighter future. Also coming up later, some musical performances from Cody Cuisia. Stay tuned for that. That should be fun. And as many of you know, Peacebuilders, of course, is a non-profit organization. It's based right here in Toronto that seeks to improve access to justice for young people in conflict with the law and advocates for change in our justice, child welfare, and education systems. I'm hosting tonight not because I used to play pickup basketball with the current executive director. I'm here because I tell people, and they're surprised to hear how many times I have been in handcuffs in the back of a police car and in trouble with the law. More times than I could count on one hand. But luckily for me, I was always let go. The erroneous arrests, the overzealous officers, one time had me at 31 Division, and I was being interviewed because of some vandalism that happened in the Jane Finch Mall. And they were convinced that I was the person responsible. They said they had a witness, even though I kept saying I had nothing to do with this. Luckily for me, the person responsible actually heard or saw that I was arrested and actually went and admitted to it, and I was released. But that person ended up having, and it was a classmate of mine, a long history with our criminal justice system, and I wonder if that was the start. I've seen what Peacebuilders Canada says with my own eyes. Young people who are charged are less likely to succeed in school or find stable employment and are more likely to re-offend. That's why I'm here, to help Peacebuilders help young people overcome conflict and reach their full potential, which is a big part of what they do. In the last years, despite the challenges presented by the pandemic, the Peacebuilders team has continued to work hard to show up and to deliver through their supportive programming, training, and advocacy work. Your support, year after year, enables the team to expand programs and to adapt in ways necessary to ensure that the support never stops and that we continue to make change and create a positive impact. Here's the team now with a quick snapshot of how your contributions have helped the team stay on track over the last year. Take a look.
Highlights for 2021. We we're able to continue to meet young people where they're at.
The work that Peacebuilders is doing, the programs that it's delivering, are arguably more important in our current environment than they've ever been.
2021 was a really important year for Peacebuilders because we've engaged in so much background work and research and needs assessments, community consultations, all this work over the past maybe 4 or 5 years. And 2021 was really the time we got to bring all of that together and actually kind of hit the ground running.
I'm proud of the team's creativity and innovation. I'm proud of the fact that, we were able to support families at a time when it was so necessary and needed. I'm proud of the fact that we've been able to support, schools and provide training opportunities to educators and for them to become versed in restorative practices.
One of the challenges of 2021 was going into the schools when everyone else was mandated to stay home. We were still getting on the subway, getting on the bus, getting in our cars and going into the schools and working with the kids. The hard part for me was seeing the challenges mentally that the young people were facing. School was a place of refuge for them.
I think Peacebuilders has done such an amazing job at trying to adapt and change, taking things as they come and failing forward.
Another major highlight for us is there have been a number of community-based youth-led programming. So for example, we have what we call Bounce Back, which is working with young people, paying them a salary to actually create creative events within their community setting to help break that social isolation.
One of the highlights of 2021 was learning how to navigate virtually. Even though I'm not with you daily, and even though we're doing this virtually, there's still impact there and they still appreciate what we bring to the table.
I think the natural evolution is that there will be a hybrid system for training people to participate in, use circles, facilitate circles.
My perspective as treasurer, 2021 was a good year. We were able to expand our programming, hire new people, and we were able to fund all of that during a pandemic, which is quite an accomplishment.
Peacebuilders' success in the last year or so is largely driven by the resilient, dedicated staff.
No one in the agency has lost their passion for the work, even throughout all of that.
Their push to carry on the mission of the organization through really challenging times has been nothing short of amazing.
One of the key directions of our new strategic plan was to recognize adolescence as a category of human behavior and human activity that is quite different, separate and distinct from children and adults.
One of the things of expanding our strategic plan and our mission and all of that to include youth up to the age of 25 is really a reflection of that culmination of everything we've learned over the past 20 plus years.
Increasing our age up to 25, that is the one piece that I'm super proud of. It acknowledges the realities of the young people that we work with. It acknowledges what the research and data says. There's disproportionality in justice, disproportionality in education, and disproportionality in the child welfare system.
In 2021, with funding from the Law Foundation of Ontario, we are able to establish the research base to really build the project out.
At the moment, we're kind of just in the research phase, but the idea is basically to look at how can the justice system respond to the needs of adolescents much better from kind of a developmental perspective.
I have been with Peacebuilders since its inception, and I have watched the demand for our programs grow almost at an exponential rate. It's been quite incredible.
We not only want to be able to continue delivering on what we already do, we want to expand our impact. And we really are so grateful to those that continue to contribute, because that's largely what's driving our ability to meet that demand.
We have more money, we can reach more kids because we can expand our programs.
I feel pretty excited about what's to come.
We are a small but very mighty organization. We are trying to change the conversations within our sector. So if you want to be part of a change-making organization, then Peacebuilders is where you should start.
Thank you, Dwight. Wow, that annual review. What incredible progress in the past year and so much to look forward to. We couldn't and can't do any of this without our incredible sponsors. Thank you to each of you for supporting Peacebuilders. As everyone is aware by now, our silent auction is on the go during this program and is scheduled to close at 10 p.m., so get bidding. As we've all come to expect and look forward to, there are so many creative and special items to bid on. We have some highlights coming up, but first, let's hear about some very innovative developments and programming at Peacebuilders.
There are 3 ways that we work within the schools. The first is on a more community level. We meet with the classes one-on-one, and we talk about different things that relate to restorative practices. So we'll talk about communication, we'll talk about anger styles, and we do it in the circle format. Then we have more of an intervention type, intensive type group where we will meet with students who are directly in conflict with each other. And then we have a more targeted approach, which is where a student has been suspended and they're re-entering into school. So we will meet with that student, their teacher, their parents to form accountability and to discuss what has happened and now what do we do moving forward.
It's really become our go-to tool for resolving conflicts throughout the school.
Students, teachers, administration, parents, I feel that there's a trust with us because we're a safe space. And what we want to see is people do better. And I believe that translates in the work that we do. I don't think you can do what we do if you're not passionate about seeing people succeed, seeing people work through hurt.
You've helped us create a common language around respect and safety in a learning environment.
Because we're not staff, because we're not administration, that's why I think we have it with the kids. And they can come in and tell us anything. We don't speak down to them, we don't belittle them, anything like that. We treat them like you're a person and you might only be 10, you're still intelligent, you still have value. So let's talk about it. You just kind of build that relationship with them that establishes trust. So now when things are happening, they automatically want to come to you and be like, this happened, what do I do? They're looking for the validation. They're actually also looking for the correction. They want that. Kids want respect.
And that's really made a huge difference in things like you mentioned earlier with reducing suspensions.
We have our own space that youth can come in. At the high school, it's like a drop-in. So the youth go there for lunch, they go there on their breaks. They have a great relationship with Rochelle, who's over there. If something's happening, they know to go to the Peacebuilders room and to work out their issues. So some kids have been in the midst of blowing up in class and they'll be like to their teacher, can I just go to the Peacebuilders room? Can I just go to the Peacebuilders room? And off they go and they come to us and they talk about it and we take them back to class, and something that could have been major is now minor. But they've given us a space that the kids know this is a place.
We can now come to a way to restore the community to a level of respect and safety.
I think virtual is a good idea. We've had a lot of people approach us to come to their schools or to do training, etc. I do think our reach would be way greater if we tapped into that virtual world and really started launching our services that way also.
It is the skills that are developed through participating in restorative circles and restorative practices that I think will steer them well into the future as they become adults.
We really are building and creating a community, and a community that works peaceably with each other and in accountability with each other.
Spaces that Peacebuilders create in changing the culture of the school, I think speaks to a larger equity initiative.
This causes everyone to come together and say, what is going to work best for everybody? It's about building the relationship, understanding the strengths and the weaknesses, what they have available, and then pulling on those things and providing things so that they can actually have something that's cohesive and works well for them. It's their unique fingerprint of restorative practices.
Restorative practice can be used in so many contexts. So not only in the justice system, not only in the school, but I think the tools that restorative practice teaches all of us can be used in our friendships and our relationships and our families.
We do have creative folks that think outside of the box. And as a result of that creativity, we're able to look at restorative justice from a healing perspective.
We have staff that have come in our staff meetings, and when we talk about operationalizing our strategic plan, and said, we're working with racialized youth and there needs to be some healing.
So we started the Sister to Sister program in 2021. This program looks at healing from a healing justice perspective. So basically, how can we talk about healing in ways that move beyond just self-care, that is not rooted in capitalism, that is accessible to all, and also rooted in practices in racialized communities. So we've talked about radical self-love, intergenerational trauma, friendships and family relationships, how to navigate those.
It wasn't a really big jump, because when we talk about restorative justice, we're talking about the harm that one can cause to someone else. But we're also talking about harm that a system can cause on a group of population, on a community.
I think all racialized communities have been doing some element of healing for themselves. I don't think we often have the tools when we're younger to unpack these things, and I think the earlier that we can talk about what are some tools for working through our own emotions when we're younger will be beneficial as we get older. You know, you've had all these years to really think about these things, because I know for myself, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache if I had a program like this when I was younger.
That is new to how we think about restorative justice. That to me is exciting and a testament not only to staff, but to the fact that as an organization, we take the learnings and we put them into action.
During the summertime, we had started a nature-based restorative practice. So we were looking for some ways to innovate LOT, so Leaders of Tomorrow. So we had come up with the idea of taking youth into nature, since for a lot of youth of color, some nature-based activities may not have felt accessible. I really love the idea of getting more youth of color into nature, because I think it's an area that feels barrier-filled. You know, I think there's a lot of activities that are coded in a certain way that maybe youth of color don't feel like that's something that's for them. But you know, nature is for everyone, and I really love the idea of combining restorative practice with nature and getting people out there learning some of those values that go with restorative practice while feeling like they have access to spaces that they may not have had before.
Thank you, Moeen and Kenesha. It's always a pleasure to see how Peacebuilders is impacting our local communities and hear from leaders from our local schools express their gratitude towards the restorative circles and how Peacebuilders programs positively impact our youth. A quick reminder to check out our silent auction. We have an array of items available for you to choose from, with a standout donated from Oxford Properties, a 2-night stay at your choice of Western Canada's Fairmont Royal York Hotels. And now for our first musical performance of the evening, an original by Cody Cuisia called Music for Love. Cody, take it away.
Don't ask him why he's so behind. He's just a rover on me. 'Cause in his mind he knows he's fine. 'Cause time ain't overloading. Tribulations, expectations, got his feet stuck in the ground. Not complacent till his destination's guaranteed to be profound. And then the sky opens up and says, the sun won't shine without music in my ears. The moon won't rise and the stars will not align without love from all my peers. So love's gonna see us through, and love's gonna be enough. So I'm gonna be using this music, music for love. And no doubt does love fit like a glove? Love is the inspiration. Think nothing of, nothing above, supporting the human nation. And we are one big team, and there's so few things in between. I mean, well, I'll be taking music and using it well. And then the sky opens up and says, the sun won't shine without music in my ears. The moon won't rise and the stars will not align without love from all my peers. So love's gonna see us through, and love's gonna be enough. So I'm gonna be using this music for love. Why worry when it's so good? All the feelings are understood by all. Ooh, I'd rather just sit and play, steady worrying about every day at all. Oh, 'cause the sun won't shine without music in my ears. The moon won't rise and the stars will not align without love from all my peers. So love's gonna see us through, and love's gonna be enough. So I'm gonna be using this music for love.
Thank you, Cody. That was amazing. We'll be seeing Cody again later on in the program. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Sopik. I'm thrilled to co-chair Spring for Peace again this year, and I wanted to thank you for joining us tonight to support this important organization. Before our next speaker joins, I wanted to remind you how you can help Peacebuilders right now. It's simple. Make a donation online by clicking on Donate Now. Every dollar counts, and we are so grateful for your support. And of course, our amazing silent auction is at your fingertips. We have some awesome items up for grabs this year, and what better way to contribute to Peacebuilders? I encourage you to check back in on the items you have been vying for, as there's just a few hours left to bid. Next up, we will hear from Janine Manning, president of one of tonight's sponsors, the Laidlaw Foundation.
In 2021, we got a grant through the Laidlaw Foundation. Through that funding, we formed the Youth Justice Transformation Lab.
We're a leading foundation for youth-focused granting in Ontario, and our strategic priorities are supporting youth impacted by the criminal justice, education, and child welfare systems. We're committed to youth inclusion by investing steady funding to increase efforts to support systems change, and this starts with youth-led initiatives.
And that is a collaborative of a bunch of different community organizations, grassroots advocates, community experts, just different individuals that have a stake in youth justice and working with youth.
We are a foundation that believes in trust-based philanthropy. And one of the guiding principles is that communities, specifically those that face systemic and historical oppression, know what is best for their communities.
We got a grant that was also through the Laidlaw Foundation back in 2018, 2019, so going back a few years now. And from that, we learned about 42 recommendations for change. Those recommendations are based off of things that we learned from youth themselves. So things that youth who had gone through the system, who were going through the system, or supporting people going through the system, it was all things that they thought they needed or would have helped them navigate that system. And then what we're doing now with the collaborative is actually implementing those recommendations and trying to make the justice system much more responsive to youth needs.
We know that historical access to financial equity has been and continues to be a barrier for Black and Indigenous communities. So what we did was simply share the wealth that Laidlaw Foundation has had the historical privilege of obtaining and maintaining. And it's something that more foundations should do.
Thank you, Janine. We are really honored to have Laidlaw Foundation support and to hear from you this year. Just a reminder to everyone that our incredible silent and fine wine auctions close at 10 p.m. tonight. Let's hear from a longtime friend of Peacebuilders and fabulous wine critic, Sarah, to tell us a bit about the wines available in this year's auction.
Hello and welcome. My name is Sarah D'Amato. I'm a principal critic and partner at Wine the Line. Today I'm here to say a few words about the fine auction at Spring for Peace. And I'm very happy to see that the auction has grown to what it is today. You've got a lot of great decisions to make tonight. First of all, this is a charity, so you can never overpay. Secondly, don't overlook wines of less celebrated vintages. They're often of better value, especially when they come from high quality, reputed houses. Case in point, lot number 111, the Margaux 1994. This is a very carefully, thoughtfully made wine for the vintage, and certainly one of the better wines in this vintage in this category. And this 1994 is one that took a little bit of time to reveal itself and is drinking well now. A couple of other wines. One is the Parent-Pommard Les Charbonnières 2005. This is lot 109 from one of my favorite producers in Pommard, which is Anne Parent. She actually was a lawyer originally, and she makes wine in this region that produces more muscular, more full-bodied, more age-worthy styles. So this 2005 from Pommard, it should be drinking beautifully right now. From Australia here, Torbreck's Factor Barossa, and in particular the Run Rig is something to look out for. That's lot 144. And the wines tend to show that smoky, earthy, dark fruit, very compelling wines. So enjoy yourselves, bid high, and drink well.
Thank you, Sarah. Looks like there's a lot of spectacular wines to pick from, so make sure you bid away. And now, time for a very special part of our program. I am so pleased to introduce our keynote speaker, David McCallum, who truly needs no introduction. David, we are so lucky to have you here with us tonight. And so without further ado, here is David's story.
Three officers got out the car and they approached us on the stoop. One of the officers had my picture in his hand and he asked me, was I David McCallum? I said, yes. He said, would you mind coming down to the precinct for questioning? Now, the first thing I'm thinking is, look, maybe something happened in the neighborhood that they're trying to do an investigation on. Maybe they think I have information or whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking all sorts of things. But what I'm not thinking is that later on, I'm going to be charged with murder. So we get down to the police station. We go up to a second floor. All the cops left except for one. This particular officer was asking me, did I like sports? Do I smoke cigarettes? What school did I go to? And those sort of things. And then the next officer come in, more aggressive. He was more aggressive right from the beginning, you know? So the officer asked me, he said, look, somebody told me a story about somebody getting killed in the park the week before, which was October 20th, 1985. So I said to the officer, I don't know what you're talking about. So he slapped me in my face and he said, listen, I'm gonna ask you again. And if not, I'm gonna hit you in your head with a chair. Now, he picked up a chair as if he was gonna hit me. But being a 16-year-old kid, not really knowing what was going on, I was scared, nervous, you know, really wanted to call my mother. So they brought my friend, Willie Stuckey, in. He had got arrested 3 hours before I did. So they brought him to the door. He opened the door. They said, is that him? Willie nodded his head, yes. And that was it. So I told the detective stories because, to be honest with you, I wanted to kind of make my statement more believable because the guy said he was going to let me go home after I made the statement. I really thought I had a chance here, you know? Not realizing that it wasn't reality. We made a videotape confession. Our statement was about 6 minutes. In the heat of that moment, I wasn't thinking about the lawyers and stuff like that. I was just trying to figure out why are they charging me and Willie Stuckey with killing somebody. So I get to court the next morning. The judge gave me about maybe 2 minutes with my mom. She came up to where I was sitting. She said, David, did you do this? I said, no, Mom, I did not. And the conversation never came up again. She never questioned me about that. She never said anything about that. She believed me right from the very beginning. So when I was incarcerated and when things weren't going good, or when I felt like I was getting myself in a position where I can put myself in harm's way, I'm just thinking about my mom and my sister, you know? Right before trial, Willie and I were offered 15 years to life. We didn't commit a crime. The truth was going to come out at some point. And we believed that trial would be our best opportunity to do that. There was no DNA, there were no eyewitnesses, no physical evidence, no anything other than the false statements. I mean, there was just a lot of things working in our favor, but when you have poor representation at trial, it was heartbreaking. It was shameful the way we were represented in court. The system needs to get rid of qualified immunity. Because what happens with qualified immunity, it allows law enforcement and prosecutors, for that matter, to do pretty much whatever they want. If they want to frame a person, it's so easy for them to do that without any repercussions. Any. If they took the time to videotape these interrogations, put these interrogations on record so that everybody can see how the process is being done, then you should have no problem agreeing to that sort of process because that process protects everybody. A lot of people have this misconception that recidivism starts actually when you get released from prison. No, recidivism, it starts while you're incarcerated. People are set up to fail and while they're in prison. But the idea is not to get there in the first place, which is why organizations like Peacebuilders is very important. The most important thing I would want somebody to take away from my story is that it can happen to anybody. At any given time, you can just be walking down the street and all of a sudden, 29 years of your life is snatched from you. All you have to do is look at the data of wrongful convictions.
Thank you, David, for sharing your incredible struggle for truth and justice. David, you are an inspiration. Thank you for supporting Peacebuilders in our effort to improve access to justice for youth and to keep young people out of the system for good. It is now my pleasure to welcome Cody Cuisia back for our second and final musical performance of the evening. In a fitting follow-up to David's powerful story, Cody will be singing Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come. Take it away, Cody.
I was born by the river in a little town. Oh, and just like that river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know that a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living. I'm afraid to die. I wonder what's out there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know that a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. Said I go to the movies, then I go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me, don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know that a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother, I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up just knocking me down on my knees. Oh, there were times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I feel I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know that a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will.
Thank you, Cody. What a great performance. And one final reminder to check out our auction items, which include dinner for two at the trendy Queen West Barcata that specializes in Filipino cuisine, or maybe a 1-week stay at a beautiful Tribeca loft, which you could pair with a private after-hours tour of the new gallery for $6, followed by dinner at Cafe Sabarsky, or maybe facials from Toronto's naturopath, Dr. Melissa Cugliari, or a beautiful piece from Toronto artist and longtime Peacebuilders supporter, Jocelyn Tang.
Hello, it's Sarah D'Amato back again. Some lots that are near and dear to me include 122 and 123. This is the Gigal Côte-Rôtie La London from the superb 1999 vintage in Côte-Rôtie. La London is the single varietal Syrah, which is what you find in the Northern Rhone, and it really has some terrific intensity, everywhere from gamey meats to ripe black fruit and almost this textured gravelly, flinty minerality about it. And this is one of the most age-worthy of Gigal's wines. One of the prizes of this evening will surely be Louis Jadot's Clos Vougeot, which is lot 114, a high prize for tonight. This is a ripe vintage, but it's made carefully, preserving a lot of freshness. This comes from the hallowed halls of the Clos Vougeot, where older vines give the impression of freshness, contrary to popular thought, which really enhances the balance of the wine. Now, one of the more affordable selections you might want to look out for is the 1998 Paul Roger Bru, which is lot 162. And this is from the great 1998 vintage, and it's made from their traditional blend. They use both Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. This has actually been aged for 7 years in the Paul Roger cellars. So you should get so many compelling, toasty, exciting notes in this wine. So good luck to you all. Bid high and drink well.
Thank you, Quinn and Sarah. Our auctions are quickly coming to a close. Just a reminder, they close at 10 p.m. tonight. So if you've been holding out for those last-minute bids, now's the time to make your move. I will now turn it over to the Peacebuilders team and Dwight for closing remarks.
Our work is always on the foundation of support from a number of individuals across the city, province, and sometimes the country. our monthly donors. I want to thank you for providing us with resources for us to be able to do this job.
In order to keep doing Peacebuilders' critical work and helping the communities we help, we really need your support. So thank you very much.
Our funders, whether it's city or the province, who have contributed to our programs and services like the Law Foundation, for example, Trillium Foundation, the school board for having us come into the schools. I thank you personally, and I also think that the folks that we work with thank you personally for the work that you've given us, the resources that you've given us to do this work.
Thank you so much to our sponsors, benefactors, donors, and supporters. Thank you in particular to our presenting sponsor, Mattamy Homes. Peter Gilgan, you have been on board for over 3 years, and it's a significant contribution to the sustaining of this organization.
We really appreciate your support, and every dollar that you give to us will make such a huge difference in the programming that we can provide to young people and their families.
I work in the schools with the parents, the teachers, the students, the administration, and we offer circles and we offer restorative practices for those in conflict. But what we are really doing is building a community and building a society.
As we are approaching our 20th anniversary next year in 2023, I would also like to thank Palia Rowland for having supported us for 19 years.
Thank you so much for your continued support over the years. We really appreciate it. Peacebuilders wouldn't be where we are right now if it weren't for you, so thank you.
Your donation not only helps us run the program, but you are impacting hundreds of lives and making a change in hundreds of lives, and that's what this is all about.
You're actually helping us do our work in a way that is meaningful.
And we could not do that without your help. Thank you so very much.
What a truly positive evening filled with inspiration, hope, and lots of gratitude. Congratulations to the entire team at Peacebuilders Canada. You have all achieved so much, and I can't wait to see what comes next year as we all follow the Peacebuilders journey. Remember, your support tonight will help Peacebuilders raise critical funds to go towards advocacy projects, current operational needs, and lessening the impact of COVID-19 on youth and their families. Next year, Spring for Peace will be celebrating its 20th anniversary, so I look forward to seeing all of you in 2023, and hopefully we'll get to do it in person. Until then, once again, thank you and good night.